YouTube, welcome to the Void of Hell Fynn. Beautiful battle map, where I'm going to be playing as the vampires up against Bretonnia. And the commander of the Bretonnian forces is none other than Ninjahund, the Twitch streamer who does tons of multiplayer. He and I got together to do some matches here. And this was one match I was particularly excited to test out, which was going to be Bretonnia versus vampires, because to me, Bretonnia feels like they're going to be the hard counter to vampires. And I know that Ninjahund loves Bretonnia, and I figured this would be fun to let him bring the Bretonnians. You can see him using the lance formation here with his Grail Knights. He's got some peasant mob. Oh, you better believe there's going to be some peasant mob versus gore bull videos. He's got foot squires here, which foot squires are stacking up to look pretty stupidly powerful for the price from what I've seen so far. Over here it looks like maybe a questing knight. Yes, 2 questing knights. These are armor-piercing anti-infantry cavalry that could do very well against units like Graveguard, and they're a very interesting pick. I had some Fellbats, and I forgot that Pegasus Knights can forward deploy, and sure enough, he caught me with them. Royal Pegasus Knights, no doubt. These guys are magic damage anti-large. They do not have armor-piercing, but they're still pretty effective in very heavy hit-and-run tactics. They're fast, because they're Pegasus at 105 speed, so... otherwise, there's a Grail Reliquae here, too, in the center. And then in terms of the Lord, I haven't spotted him yet for some reason. Oh, there's 2 Grail Reliquae, so that's going to keep his guys fighting very effectively. So he's going to use that to buff his infantry. I do have Blood Knights, and I'm expecting a very top challenge from the much improved Grail Knights, so I brought a lot of extra skeleton spears to try and get in the way of his knights. So my bats lure his Pegasus Knights way off. That's a good start for me. Here's his lord over here, the Fey Enchantress. That's cool that he brought her. So now, once I'm not going to get charged, I bring my Blood Knights in, thinking this will be a good opportunity for me. I really don't want to take a charge from these Grail Knights, if at all possible. And I've got Vladdy Daddy von Karstein over here in the center trying to beat down the Foot Squires. You can see here Grail Knights matching up against Blood Knights, and so far here we've got Regrowth, which gave physical resistance and healing to these Grail Knights, and so they're gonna be slaughtering on my Blood Knights, just slaughtering on them. I had to use Invocation of Nehek over here in order to try and buff up my Blood Knights, and they're doing pretty well with some of that support. Look at that, the Comet of Cassandora, which is a legendary item ability for the lady. And that was a pretty brutal hit. She did a lot of hit point damage. And then look at these questing knights starting to get into my backlines. So the question is, can the undead forces of the vampires hold out long enough against this assault from the Bretonnians? Their foot squires are doing good work up front. But I can also heal and hold these guys back for a long time. The questing knights, though, are going to be causing some pretty serious damage and problems for me. I get some of my Blood Knights free. 1 unit of Blood Knights is going to succumb. I just can't save them. They're stuck out here against basically a full unit of Royal Pegasus Knights. The other one gets back closer to Vlad, where I may have a chance to heal it, but it is up against a Questing Knight here. Questing Knight will not do as well versus the Blood Knights, but my guys are pretty deteriorated. And you can see the infantry fight, despite Bretonnia having their Grail Reliquae, they're struggling. They're not defeated, but they're struggling to get through all of my Graveguard. So I have the healing aura around my guys. I have the White Kings. I have Vlad. So we're causing plenty of damage. And you can see the Questing Knights did not stack up against the Blood Knights well at all. But the Grail Knights are going to change that. So the Grail Knights come in. We've got problems, people. We've got problems. If I lose my Blood Knights, there's not much to save me from taking cycle charges all day long from what's left of this Bretonnian cavalry, and that's going to be the danger you face from Bretonnia anymore. It's not necessarily going to be their infantry. It's going to be whether or not you can wipe out their cavalry, because their cavalry is going to be able to cause you significant damage. The Grail Knights do not get tired, so that's going to be a big challenge you're going to run into. They're going to be able to charge all day long in the late game, and the magical damage and stuff like that is something you have to watch out for. The Fey Enchantress is kind of a cool addition to Bretonnia. Yeah, she's no Luan in terms of combat, but she's not bad in combat, really. That Comet of Cassandora was cool. It has potential uses. And then her Lore of Life mastery can do really cool things with the Grail Knights that they support. And I think that she will be an interesting combination. I thought it was cool that Ninjahund brought her here. I definitely think that so far she's stacked up to be one of my favorite lords in the game, period, in terms of legendary lore, or in this case, a lady. You can see I'm going to give him a good fight. It's not looking good for me with all these Grail Knights floating around. I feel like I put up a decent fight here, but in the end, these Bretonnian forces are looking to carry the day here. There's still foot squires around, and really the only thing I have left is Vladdy Daddy and some White Kings. And it's just more than I can handle right now. Let's watch this here. Here comes another Comet of Cassandora. Beautiful spell. That one probably did more damage to him than it did me, but whatever. It's still fun to watch. I've got a few skeleton warriors left back here that were some Raise the Dead, but I am pretty much out of winds and magic, and it's Vlad and his White Kings versus the whole of the Bretonnian army, who can probably still be healed by the Fey Enchantress. So it may look like kind of a close battle here in the end. I'm going to end up losing fairly decisively because despite the numbers, there are a lot of Grail Knights on the battlefield, and I don't have anything to kill them with. Check out the Enchantress burning Vlad's face with the power of life. That's pretty cool looking. This game really is beautiful. There's Vlad right there. If Vlad likes blood, he's in the right spot. Unfortunately, it's going to be a lot of his own blood. So yeah, in the end, we just couldn't get it done. And I think this is what's going to happen to the vampires quite a bit, in the sense that if you're trying, the vampires kind of need to blob up in order to get most of their healing and to support their monsters, but blobbing up is the last thing you're going to want versus Bretonnia, because now the Grail Knights are anti-large, they're magic damage, they never get tired, and they can be healed by the Fey Enchantress or a Damsel with the Lore of Life. So I think vampires are going to end up in this kind of position a lot against Bretonnia, which is getting surrounded. And when you get surrounded, then this is going to happen. You'll just get chewed up. That magic from the Enchantress is freaking awesome. So yeah, I wasn't able to pull it off here. It doesn't mean it can't be done, but I do feel like very strongly that Bretonnia is going to be the hard counter to the vampires. And I think that that's going to be a matchup that is going to have to be studied out to see whether there's effective ways to fight it, and there could be. I forgot about the spear unit back there the whole time too, so that was a huge miss for me because that spear unit could have been very helpful here in the end. But GG to Ninjahund. It was fun. It was a good game, and that was one of my favorite matches that we played. He and I played other matches. And let's just jump out of here real quick. We're going to end the replay. Whoops, sorry, I bumped the microphone. My setup's a little bit different because I'm using my laptop to record a few videos. Saw the stats there. Sorry, I meant to leave the stats screen up longer. But yeah, it was a fun game. I've heard some rumors out there, and I know this isn't related to the vampire fight, but someone in my comments said that Bretonnian questing knights can defeat demigryph knights, and that sounds absolutely absurd to me. I'm going to switch this. I don't think that's the case, but I want to test that. And then someone also said that the Bretonnian foot squires could beat great swords and graveguard with great weapons. I think those are both good tests to run real quick. So how strong is Bretonnia? Is that the truth? I mean, if it is the truth, it certainly needs to be changed, but I'm not 100% convinced that it is the truth. Let's just get a unit of spears, because we don't want to skew this with any other effects. Let's get a unit of questing knights, and then over here I've got a unit of demigryph knights. Now, the auto-resolve doesn't think this is going to go well, and I don't know how it could go well, but I remember the comment said demigryph knights can get defeated by questing knights. I don't see that happening. And just to make this more fair, I'll ramp up the questing knights to the same cost as the demigryph knights, roughly. So there we go. It gives them a double silver chevron. I still think that the questing knights are going to lose horribly, but we'll see. The demigryph knights have anti-large, and the questing knights don't have near as much armor. The demigryphs also have a healthy anti-armor component. So questing knights versus demigryph knights. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I know where this is going to go, but here we go nonetheless. Two units clash. If the questing knights win, then yes, that's not good. They did a lot of damage. It's going to blow my mind if they win. Oh my gosh, though, look how good they do. I don't think without the upgrades they would have done quite this good, but wow. They didn't win, so the statement was false, but they did do a lot of damage. They cost the same, though. And if I hadn't given them the upgrades, I don't know. I mean, for not being an anti-large unit, that was an impressive performance from the questing knights. It's got to be their anti-armor bonus that gets thrown in there that's causing that. You draw your own conclusion. What you saw there, I'll let you tell me what you think. I don't know where I stand on that one, to be honest. I'm sitting here thinking about it because I didn't expect that result. That actually caught me off guard. Let's go foot squires versus great swords. So, great swords, here you be. Let's see how foot squires stack up against great swords. If foot squires win this, then it's a travesty, to be honest, because Bretonnia's infantry is not supposed to be their focus. It's supposed to be their cavalry, and I don't mind Bretonnia having a solid infantry such as the foot squires. It would be a shame, though, that Graveguard with great weapons and great swords have taken so many nerfs, and then for foot squires to come in at 250 less cost and to beat them, it would be definitely a sort of a travesty. Now, hang on, these great swords are in a bit thicker ranks. I'm going to try and square up to the same size so we don't have a lot of overlap. The ground between us is pretty even, so it shouldn't give one unit or the other any benefits. Okay, foot squires versus great swords, two similar units, except for cost. Let's see how it plays out. Let's fast forward. Great swords are winning. Let's see how it plays out over the long run. Great swords pack more armor and a little less damage. Less charge. It looks like the great swords are going to win this one, and fairly decisively. So that was also a misstatement. So foot squires do not beat great swords. The great swords rolled them over. And remember that any magic that Bretonnia has access to, the Empire has access to, plus more. So that was not out of line in my mind. Let's test them real quick against the let's test them up real quick against the Vampire Count's great weapon infantry here. So the Graveguard with great weapons. Right here. Now, of course, vampires would typically have some type of support unit. This is a test without any support units. And vampire infantry, a lot of people complain about them being too crappy. It depends. If the nerfs to the Mortis engine and everything else that were brought out really gimp the vampires as much as people are saying it is, then yes, I could see why you're upset about their infantry. But at the same time, like, those tools give the vampires a lot of flexibility, and I can see why their infantry was weak in previous patches compared to some of the other factions, because their folks don't rout either. Like, you can't terrorize them. You can certainly lower their leadership and cause them to crumble, but you can't terrorize them. Look at this, they're actually frightened. This unit causes fear. Ha! The enemy vampire lord in there died, which is unfortunate. There's not much I can do about that. But let's see who wins. Foot squires versus Graveguard with great weapon. Remember, the comment said that they beat this unit for less cost. It doesn't appear to be the case, and it is not the case. The foot squires are losing. And they're afraid of the Graveguard. So there you go. Graveguard and great swords roll through foot squires. So, yep, a little bit of a test. Now, the other curiosity that I'd like to take a look at is questing knights. Because people brought up the questing knights. Let's throw one of them in. And will they decisively defeat a unit like this? Can you charge into infantry, and if all things remain equal, like you don't get attacked by spears or other stuff like that, can you rely on this cavalry unit to charge in and finish the job, or would they be more of a hit and run type of role that you want to play with them? So let's just show that real quick, because Bretonnia has these melee cavalry units now in the form of knights errant and the more potent questing knights, and then the peak would be the Grail Guardians. And it looks like the vampires are not going to brace, so this is a charge for charge. I would assume. Oh wow. Wow, the questing knights laid it down on the charge. Oh man, they just flat out murder this unit. They take some damage in the process, and they cost more, but wow. Well, now I've got another test in mind that I want to check out. So that was against Graveguard with great weapons. What about a more potent weapon that's likely to be seen on the battlefield? So what about a black orc? Let's see, black orc. Well, now I start these unit tests and I can't stop because they're too interesting. So let's check this out. Black orcs. Alright, we're just going to straight up charge the Blackworks and see what happens. Let's watch these beautiful knights. Ooh. Beautiful knights of Bretonnia charge. Accidentally hit the J key and made them turn around. Looks like the greenskins were trying to brace. I don't know if it'll actually brace them. Now remember, the Blackwork's pretty potent weapon. Questing Knight's got a pretty good charge. They're doing a lot of damage, but now the Blackworks are going to start hitting back, and they're hitting back hard. But they're not made to hit against cavalry. Look at that, a Questing Knight going to chew its way right through Blackworks with no problem. So the real question is, why would I bring 2 foot squires when it looks like the Questing Knight can get the job done pretty effectively? That is something else. Chewed right through a Blackwork, no problem. Leave me your thoughts. Tell me what you think about the new Bretonnian cavalry, man. It's going to be some tough stuff. Bretonnia is going to be a faction to be reckoned with. About half wondering if they're going to be in the top tier now. HeirofCarthage signing out. I'll see you back with more action soon.